You're playing Pokemon.
Yes.
I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West. Lots of other people are playing Elden Ring.
Yes.
So we
It's
have to talk
finally
about
here.
this, right? Because every awards thing,
Oof.
every preview event, every whatever, Elden Ring, Elden Ring, Elden Ring, Elden Ring.
Mhm. Yes. And now that it's here, I feel like it's fairly divisive game. At least if you pay attention to being what's being said on Twitter, because half the people out there are like, this is so excellent. Like, I love the gameplay. Like all of these things have been improved. And then like half of the people out there are like, I can't with this. It's so buggy. Everything's slowing down. Um, People are even divided on like, okay, this is a very, and apologies if this is a spoiler alert. This is a very like Dark Souls esque game.
I mean, yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what it is. Yeah.
but like half the people are like, oh, that's so great, and the other half of people are like, oh, I don't like Dark Souls. I'm like, okay, it seems like everybody knew about this, so why are
Yes.
you buying
You
slash
just
playing
have
it
to.
then?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay,
You know what I mean?
I
Like, it's
mhm.
half the people seem like it's like a big surprise, and I'm like, but then why are you complaining that it's like Dark Souls if you knew it was going to be
Yeah.
like Dark Souls?
Well, I think there'll be a lot
That's
of
my
people
thought
that
about it.
just everybody has to go online and they all have to say whether something they think is good or bad
Hmm.
and of course or whatever, whether they've played it or not. And it's like, well, you can admit that maybe it's good and it's just not your kind of game. I think that's what
Right?
most normal people will do. But I can see with the because it's as we speak, it's sitting at 97 on Metacritic.
Whew.
So yes, 49 positive reviews, zero mixed, zero negative.
Hmm.
So um,
Wow. So apparently
yes.
anybody on Twitter is not taking the time to like write a review because those two
Well,
things do
so
not match up.
yes. Well, it is interesting though, because I think you're going to see this kind of coverage. A lot of people that aren't super into it, they haven't been following. Oh my God, Elden Ring's coming. They're just going to see
Right.
that, hey, this game's reviewing very well. A lot of people that I watch are streaming it. Whatever
Right.
kind of some exposure to it. Think it looks really cool, and have no idea what a Soulsborne game is.
Right.
Buy it and not play more than 40 minutes of it because they're like, this sucks.
Yeah,
It's a niche thing.
I was reading something that was like, "Oh, I hate this game because every time you die and you have to respawn, you have to redo things over again." And I was just like, "I'm sorry, have you never played video games before?" That's that's like how every game works. I mean, I get that like,
Well,
I mean, it's to a more or less extent sometimes, and when you get to a save point, like save your damn game so you don't have to play the last 40 minutes over
mhm.
again. But I don't know, it was just such like a generic like, "Oh, I hate redoing things." I was like, "Okay, you shouldn't be in video games then." Like
Well,
this is clearly not your jam.
a lot of a lot of games, more modern games have gotten really good at the autosave. And so
Yeah,
they might have difficult mechanics, but the difficulty isn't in making you want to hurt yourself because you have to redo something all the time. I mean, it's part of the reason I love Hollow Knight because it's so gorgeous. The music is absolutely beautiful. Gameplay is very tight, but I don't feel like exploring
mhm,
because that's what and so that's what you have to do. You have to find your way around a map, open up, find
sure.
all the secrets. I don't feel like doing that because the threat of dying and when you do die and the loss of losing everything and then being sent way back to a save point to go there is not a stress that is enjoyable for me. Whereas other games, like an example would be that's also very very difficult game like Celeste. That game, basically every room or whatever is a new screen. You go on the
Sure.
screen and as soon as you enter it saves. So you just have to like get through this room and then it saves. to the
Yeah.
next one. And so you're not losing equipment, you're not losing lives, you just get to keep trying it again. And there's games that inspire creativity like Portal. Like they want you to
Mhm.
play with the physics of it. They want you to
Mhm.
see if you can launch yourself this way. So there's no punishment for death
Right.
because otherwise you don't feel compelled to try and to explore
Mhm.
and to experiment. And so a lot of newer games are that way. And
Mhm.
so if a person that's a modern audience that's used to that goes and plays something that has some of the trappings of an older game
Mhm.
where, yeah, like you say, maybe you didn't save just because you forgot and there was no auto
Mhm.
thing or whatever. It's like, well, right now I'm way back wherever. Or a game like this that purposely punishes you. It might be have
Yeah.
an auto save thing that's very easy, but you die, you need to go collect your stuff.
Mhm.
And if you die again before you collect it, it's all gone, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I can definitely see your point. Like I would be frustrated if I had played, 40 minutes, an hour plus maybe even, and then died and was like I lost all of that. That would be frustrating for sure, especially to have to keep doing that over and over. But I mean, a lot of responses that I saw to that were like, "Oh, Elden Ring actually like updated so that you have like, twice the save points and like it's a lot
mm,
less like going back
yeah,
or
grace
whatever."
points, yeah.
So I just felt like I don't know, I felt like that was just going maybe a little far or maybe just like this clearly wasn't your type of game then because it just
Yeah,
felt like such a generic like I don't like going and doing things over and I'm like I mean, for Elden Ring, you can't go into a building that has rooms. Like you don't get to like
yeah,
play the entire game in like different rooms of a house and like you get to auto save at every
yeah,
room. Like yeah, you have to at least know some of that going in, you know?
yep,
So, I don't know. I just reading things like that was just sort of like, I mean, I get that you can have complaints with the game, but this just feels less legitimate of a complaint than other people.
yep, yep. I definitely think I don't know if there is for this one, there might be. I definitely think more games should get back to doing some sort of demo,
Mm,
experience for
mhm.
people so they can see if it's right for them or not.
I would
Um,
agree with that.
and then I think what this showcases right now, like the 97 Metacritic score, is that the review system is still really weird, you know, because
Mhm,
it's not video games are definitely different than every other form of media. You don't buy a book and then it gets like next week patched, you know.
mhm.
Now they might have another printing, they found a mistake and they fix it, you know.
You don't get,
Movies,
like, another epilogue in there.
yeah, movies, you know, if the usually if they left the thing in the shot, it's in the shot. That's what it is, you know? And so
Hashtag
it's this
Starbucks
weird
cup, GOT.
exactly, yep, mhm. So I do think that it's odd that there are so many positive because I know what it probably is everybody is like they bought into the hype. The game is
Mhm.
beautiful. It's what people that know what this game is were looking for,
Right.
but it's got bugs, which isn't unique for a new game.
Mhm,
But the question should be, does a game then can you give it 100 when you review it, it's buggy,
mhm.
assuming they'll fix it?
Right, right. Yeah, I did see a lot of debate about that, especially with regard to the release of Horizon Forbidden West. Um, there's definitely some chatter around the fact that like Elden Ring seemed to be getting a pass on complaints around bugs because people like didn't want to they just sort of like assumed that it was going to happen. It was fine, like they're forgiven, like we're getting a patch, it'll all work itself out. Whereas there was some discussion around like Horizon Forbidden West being released and it needing, you know, some bugs fixed as well. So yeah, so there was definitely like more than a few comments about like, hey, let's just be honest, like you could still love the game and it's fine, but don't like trash Horizon Forbidden West for that and then not say the same about Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Which I don't
Well,
think is a
especially
reflection I don't think it's a reflection on Horizon Forbidden West itself. I'm just saying, like, there was just obviously, it's the most recent
Yeah.
big thing to come out, so it's an easy comparison to make.
Yeah, no, and especially because the bugs that seem to be affecting Elden Ring are I mean, in a game that's requiring very precise movement for combat,
Right.
the
Mhm.
bugs are affecting that, you
Right.
know, major rubber banding and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
whereas in Horizon, most of the things that we were talking about for bugs were, well, there's some pop in of things, draw distance that come in later, or, there
Mhm.
is one weird thing where Halo is floating or whatever, but it's not destroying your, like, you know,
Gameplay.
yeah. And in Horizon, if you die, it's not a big deal. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's one of those modern games. It's not a big deal. You're not punished. So, like, if something happens like that, or you need to reload or whatever, it's just usually in most situations not a big deal. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I think part of and why is that? I think why is Elden Ring getting a pass? Maybe it's the insane hype around it. I think maybe because
Anticipation for sure.
FromSoft is kind of like a golden child, it's
Mhm.
very revered by the media, and so it's also multi-platform,
Mhm.
whereas it's easier for certain people to pick on one thing or another. I mean, it's very quick. As soon as there's an exclusive on one system or another,
Yep.
everybody on the other side jumps on anything they possibly can to try to
Right.
take that one down a peg. And so Horizon is in that situation where it's a PlayStation exclusive. And so anyone on the other side, quote unquote, is going to come and try to knock it down a bit. And
Sure.
it happens both ways. And I don't I don't doubt that critics can be susceptible to that a little bit too. So, I don't know.
Interesting to see. Yeah. Interesting to
Yeah.
see the kind of politics, if you will, around Elden Ring's release
Yeah.
and its
Yeah.
reception. It's very
I mean,
interesting.
one guy I listened to said this is a generation defining game.
Ooh.
This game is going to change the way that developers. It's kind of like when Witcher 3 came out, it
Mhm.
revolutionized the open world game and kind of
Sure.
set a new standard that took a while for anyone to touch. Then Breath of the Wild came out, and that kind of added on and changed that again.
Mhm.
Seems like, according to this person, this is now the next thing where people are going to be pushing for an open world game, and they're going to be using it. And he's failing to me to describe how it really does that. So we'll
Sure.
see if
That's a
others
yeah, that's a
agree.
bold statement to make without
Mhm.
anything, like, concrete to point to. I mean,
He's
I guess
saying,
I didn't
yeah,
listen, so I don't know, but, I mean, like
yeah,
I said, it's pretty ballsy.
yep. But if a game can live up to the insane hype that Elden Ring had, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good because this game had a lot of chance to be like, oh well, that's good, but meets what we think, or oh, that's a kind of a disappointment. Um,
Mhm.
and for it to seemingly be exceeding that, that's
Mhm.
yeah, that's something.
Yeah, I'd be interested to keep an eye on reviews and see if and how much that could change
Hmm. Yeah,
for
that's
such, like,
what.
a strong, like, seemingly flawless and perfect opening. You know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah,
that's insane
and
to me.
this stuff does affect things because, like, Days Gone it's a famous story now that Days Gone launched, and all the reviews, copies and stuff were given to people before day one patch. So people were reviewing these games, very buggy. Sony knew it. They didn't give them the extra time. They didn't send out the patch early enough. And so the Metacritic score reflected a
Mm,
buggy game. And then
yeah.
that doesn't really change meaningfully. So
Mhm.
the next week or then the next month or whatever, when it's all fixed, then now you have a completely different game. That's why, like, I think we really are going to be good in the sense because critics aren't going to change. The way
Mhm.
reviews, everybody's going to try to pound through the game right when it comes out as quick as possible so they can get the
Right.
review out and people can
Right.
click on
Be
theirs first.
first. Yeah.
Mhm. So that's not going to change. The thing that will change is when everything gets put into a streaming service or a subscription service day one, because then you can just try it at no extra expense. You don't need to
Mhm.
worry about demo. You can just download it, try it. You don't like it, you uninstall it. And if you
Right.
hear that they patched it a whole bunch, you can try it again a few months later.
Right,
no
again, no
expense to
punishment,
you.
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's definitely going to be, I think, ultimately good because also it's not going to change the game. Game companies aren't going to be like, oh, well, our game came out a little buggy. The next one, we'll make sure we don't even need that day one patch. It's going to be flawless before we launch it. That's not happening either. So,
Oh god, no, never. That's that's cute.
so yeah. Well, are you going to challenge yourself with Elden Ring?
Um, eventually, I am definitely not a person who is like, "Oh my god, out of my way, everybody, day 1, Elden Ring is mine." I have other games that I'm interested in playing before getting there, but I think I will eventually, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I mean, I have this
Um.
whole
Oh.
game called Borderlands that I have to knife through, so there it is. There's that face I know and love.